I want to go out to our guest, Dr. Janie Lacy. And guys, this video is from our friends at Lupita's Beauty Salon, psychotherapist and CEO of Life Counseling Solutions. Dr. Janie, thank you for being with us. Many people, including myself, are struck by his demeanor. He seems so calm. Of course, it's one thing when you're uncontrollably tickling little girls on the playground and you can't seem to stop yourself, or you're having private lunches with the little girls without their parents knowing about it, or you're attacking two unarmed parents on a family hiking trail. That's an entirely different scenario than being in court surrounded by 9 armed guards. But his demeanor, even in Lupita's salon, he's looking down, he seems very quiet and self-contained. How do you reconcile the two? The demon that appeared at Devil's Den hiking trail and this guy?
Well, the way that we reconcile that, Nancy, is that they learn to compartmentalize and they learn to operate in little boxes. So when we see him in this clip, there's not eye contact and there's probably very little communication, so that he doesn't have to connect with the person who he's actually talking to. So they stay disassociated, they stay not connected, and they don't necessarily, because when you're looking at eye contact and you're engaging in conversation, you're connecting with the person. So this would tell me that he's learned to compartmentalize, he does not connect, and that he keeps himself very guarded so that people can't necessarily read him, or so he thinks.
Joining me, Dr. Janie Lacy. What is nismophilia?
Well, nismophilia is basically a tickling fetish, Nancy. So most of the time people are using it, especially predators, because there is some type of pleasure that they'll get from the actual tickling or being tickling. And there's usually a power dynamic that occurs. And what we'll see, Nancy, with predators, it becomes almost socially acceptable because tickling appears harmless to most observers. And this desensitization process gradually normalizes.
Okay, Black Bacon. Rewind. Okay, you got to start at the beginning. Nismophilia is a fetish where you like to tickle people, whether they want to be tickled or not, to where the victim is, they're not laughing, they're crying, they don't like it, but you keep doing it and you can't stop yourself. It's a power dynamic. Could you start that over again? You got me drinking from the fire hydrant, Dr. Janie. Too much information at once. Just slow it down for me. I'm just a trial lawyer. Go ahead.
So when we consider nismophilia, it's also considered a tickling fetish. And what we'll see, Nancy, with the tickling fetish is that there's pleasure that's derived from tickling or being tickled. And we'll see that there's usually like a dominant submission dynamics, a power dynamic at play. So when it comes to our suspect and the power dynamic of him being a teacher and him tickling his students, we'll see it happen with predators because tickling usually appears harmless to observers, right? It becomes socially acceptable touch. And what we'll also see is this desensitization process that occurs, Nancy, because what happens is they gradually normalize inappropriate physical contact. And they also can build trust. They're using playful interactions to gain a child's comfort. And what we'll also see is a lot of testing of boundaries happens. They're assessing the child's vulnerability and also the adult supervision around. So predators will look at this isolation indicator, is what we call it, where they'll determine if adults will actually intervene. So when we see a lot of these warning signs that have been reported, he had excessive physical contact with the children and he was targeting specific genders, the young girls, and he created these special relationships with these students, and the boundary violations in professional settings that was reported that some of the parents recognized as actually a grooming behavior.
You know what this is telling me? To Tom Green, former Chief Deputy Washoe County Sheriff's, you're hearing what Dr. Janie Lacy is saying. And to me, this is giving credence to the theory that McGann tried to grab one of the little girls, or both, ages 7 and 9, typically one, to either molest them or something else like the tickling, to feed his own fetish, and the parents stopped him.
That's absolutely a rational theory, and we can't forget, Nancy, that the 9-year-old is the same age as the children that's going to be in the class he was about to start teaching in what, a week, 10 days out? What if she was going to be a
Okay,
student in his
wait,
class?
Tom, that's important. Whoa, that's important. I want to follow up with that. Dr. Janie Lacy, that's important because perps, especially, typically have an age and a sex and a type. Here's an example. Not exactly on point, but look at Ted Bundy. If you look at his victims, so many of them looked the same for a long period of time until he got completely out of control and would just basically attack anybody that he could get close to. But at the beginning, he would pick out one woman after the next, as I recall seeing their pictures side by side, all thin, white females, dark hair, similar facially, hair parted down the middle, as I'm just recalling them off the top of my head. That was his preferred victim, whether consciously or subconsciously. And Tom Green pointed out the girls that age are the same girls as these victims, particularly the 9-year-old.
Well, he said it, Nancy, that he targeted his preference and he showed excessive favoritism towards this particular age range. And also, he had access to them because this was the age range of which he was teaching. So it's by no accident, in my opinion, that he particularly targeted this family that had these young girls because they were part of his target that we have now described by a lot of different people through his history.